audience joining our Zoom and also UST YouTube channel. And the last is closing. Okay, Bapak Ibu, panelists and audience, I kindly request you to take a moment of silence, asking God Almighty to bless us His grace for today's session. Doa dipersilakan. Okay, terima kasih. And now, with all respect, to stand or be seated, remain on your seat for our national anthem, Indonesia Raya, and Hymne Taman Siswa. Okay, thank you. And then to begin this sharing session, I kindly invite Bapak Anselmus Sudirman, Sarjana Pendidikan Magister Humaniora, Head of English Department, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa, to deliver an opening speech. Pak Ansel, the screen is all yours.
You are still muted, Pak Ansel.
Pak Ansel?
Okay,
Yeah.
it's on
Okay.
now. Okay, thank you.
All yours.
Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Okay, first of all, we praise God the Almighty for His blessings and guidance, make everything possible today. And then we are pleased to welcome all of you who have joined us from somewhere across Indonesia. And just before we get started, I would like to express my gratitude to the Rector of Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa Yogyakarta, Professor Haji Pardimen MPD PhD, Vice Rector of Academic Affairs, Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa Yogyakarta, Dr. Imam Ghazali MSc, Vice Rector of Domestic and Foreign Affairs, Yuyun Yulia, PhD, and the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Nanang Bagus Subakti, MED, and Universitas Sanata Dharma, Universitas Mercu Buana Yogyakarta, and Universitas Kristen Satya Vacana Salatiga. Without your support, we could not have done this special event. And today marks the undergraduate program of English Language Education, Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa Yogyakarta, in collaboration with three universities, Sanata Dharma University, Christian University of Satya Vacana, and Mercu Buana University of Yogyakarta. And in the upcoming months, we would like to administer the same events with different themes. And today we have some speakers that will address different topics for us to learn. First, we would like to thank you, Dr. Hasti Rubiasi from English Education Department of Graduate Program, Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa, and my former classmate, Dr. Listiani M. Hum from Satya Vacana Christian University, and Elisa Hartati from English Education Department, Mercu Buana University, Yogyakarta, and the last, Uda Teda Ena from EDD from Sanata Dharma University. And then last but not least, I thank you very much for the committee members behind the scenes so we can realize this event for us. So enjoy the webinar and thank you all for joining us.
Okay, thank you, Pak Ansel. And now allow me to kindly invite Dr. Imam Ghazali, Master of Science, Vice Rector of Academic Affairs, Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa, to deliver his speech and also to open this sharing session. Pak Imam, the screen is all yours.
Thank you, Gulasmi, and thank you, everyone. Good morning, everyone. The Honorable Dean of the School of Education and Teacher Training, Pak Nanang, and the all faculty members the head of department of the English department of USD, Papa Ansel, and all the faculty members, the honorable panelists for today's webinar. First, we have Dr. Lisyani Mhum from UKSB. Second is from UMBY, Ibu Elisa Hartati, SPD MPD. The third is from our neighbor USD, Bapak Uda Teta Ena ED. And last but not least is our colleague Ibu Hastiro BSc from USD. And for all participants for this seminar, first of all, we would like to express our gratitude for from all the faculty on behalf of the family members of the University of Tamsua. We first of all congratulate you for joining this program, and we especially appreciate for the availability of all the panelists for sharing their ideas and experiences in doing the educations in this pandemic conditions, and also all the committees for this webinar for the hard work of making. We know that for the more than semesters or more than 6 months, we have been experiencing the same conditions where we have to change our practices, especially in delivering the education for our students. We are no longer free to face our students, to meet our students in the classrooms, in a contained rooms, and that. And then we have to be detached from them. We have to be separated, and we have to be using instruments or internet things to make our communication with students happen. And in these conditions, although we live in more or less the same places, we are in Central Java and Jakarta, and our conditions are more or less the same. However, our conditions might be different because of the conditions of the universities. We realized that although USD and USD is very close, but the conditions of USD is different from us, USD. And also we are more or less same with our neighbors of UMBY. And we don't know, maybe we are in the more or less same conditions for that. However, it is best for us to listen how the experiences from this universities are like, so that when we can learn this, we can learn what are the best practices that we could develop for our conditions, for our universities and department. I think we have been waiting this moment for long because we are confronted with the routines of how to deliver the educations better because of our restrictions. Some of us are restricted because of the technology. Some of us are restricted because of the facilities, and some of us are restricted because of the competencies, both the teachers and students. That makes the education vary so much. But hopefully that through this sharing moment, sharing experiences, we could see, we could learn from each other, and we could learn best practices from these limitations so that we can develop our conditions best to continue the of providing better educations for our students over there. Again, we appreciate for the availability of the panelists for this seminar from KSW, from UST, from MBA, and also from OST. As the head of the department said, that this is the first of this discussions. We do hope that from this, and then the second will be more focused on trying to see how solutions are made, and then what better efforts that we could make, and what are the best or better solutions for some problems that we commonly across among the students attending this program. So we all do hope that this discussions benefited us all, and we do hope that this forum could also strengthen our collaborations for furthering achieving the mission of our institutions for that. So on behalf of the sectors of University of Sarjana Mahasiswa, we officially declare this seminar open. We do expect that all of you enjoy this seminar, and we do hope that this program is beneficial to all of us. Thank you so much, and enjoy the seminar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Imam, for the kind speech and opening this sharing session. Bapak, Ibu, and distinguished panelists, also audience of the English language teaching sharing sessions 1, we now come to the main agenda of our sharing session. 4 distinguished panelists have been kindly invited to share their insightful and fruitful ideas and thoughts. The sharing session will be moderated by Ibu Estri Oktarena Ikrarini, Sarjana Sastra, Master of Arts. Bapak, Ibu, and audience, please welcome our panelists and moderator. And to Purina, the sharing session is now yours.
Thank you, Laksmi. Good morning, all participants. Today we're joining our first sharing sessions discussing about students and teachers engagement and readiness in online learning. And today we will also learn and listen to our 4 presenters, Ibu Dr. Roro Hastirobiasi from Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa, Ibu Dr. Listiani from Universitas Kristen Satya Wacana, Ibu Elisa Hartati, SPD MPD from Universitas Mercu Buana Yogyakarta, and Bapak Odatena Eda IDD from Universitas Sanata Dharma Yogyakarta. Our discussions today will be begun with presentations from all 4 speakers, and then followed by a question and answer sessions. Participants, or you can post any questions on our chat column or asking questions directly during our question and answer sessions. Those who join YouTube Live, you may also post any questions to the comment column. So now, let us begin our sharing sessions by listening to presentations from Ibu Dr. Roro Hastirobiasi from Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa. She is a lecturer in UST and also the head of English Education Department of Graduate Program in Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa. She earned her Bachelor of Education from UST, and she got both Master of Education and doctorate degree from Semarang State University. And today, she's going to share about increasing students' engagement and teachers' readiness in online language learning and reflections. Ibu Hasti, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Ibu Hasti, the time is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much, Purina. The Honorable Vice Rectors and also all the panelists and my beloved participants. I would like to share my small survey in response to the request of delivering a topic in this sharing session. Ibu Rena, could you help sharing my PowerPoint, please? Hello? Yeah, Bapak Ibu, I tried to put this title due to the result of my survey, since I got no idea when I have to deliver this topic, then I conducted a small review, a small survey also with some of our students. Then relating to the result of my survey, I then choose this title. What I want to share is more on increasing student engagement, then followed by increasing teacher readiness level in online learning. But it is a kind of reflections because for me, online learning is, as what the vice rector said, it is something new, and I realize, and it is a kind of confession, that I'm not ready yet to run this kind of online learning. Okay, next slide, please. I would like to share something which is for me a bit, if it is not irritating, but it's shocking, but it is true. I try to put some result of my survey from my students. He or they said that I'm still trying to I'm trying my best to get accustomed to online learning.
Bu Hasti, could you please make your voice louder?
Yeah, okay. And then said that I think it is inevitable because taking online learning is not actually the plan, but rather find resource to the whole pandemic issues which greatly affect education and me as a teacher in particular. I have to engage in online learning not because I have been long prepared for it, but because it's the only option available to keep the learning process going. So from this, we see that they are not completely engaged and they are not completely ready, both teachers and also students. But in some result, we see that technology revolutionary 4.0. This is from the students' perspective. So they got the benefit of online learning. They feel ready with the online learning. But online learning make them more passive. Online classes seem to have rendered learning teacher-centered. So what happened is that is more teacher-centered. Students are simply there, listening and absorbing everything. The next one is to address this issue. They're saying that teachers should provide more opportunities for the student to express their ideas, share their thoughts, and even present their finding of a given topic. So, and the last one is very good. I think instead of lecturing taking over the class discussion, I think it is wise that such roles should be distributed equally to all the students during any given discussion. So, Bapak Ibu, this is what they said about our online learning condition. I can say that the engagement are not successfully yet, and I'm not satisfied yet. To do so, then I try to reflect myself. So how can I increase the engagement of my student? And then next slide, Ibu. I try to see what is then mean by engagement. Ibu, please, next slide. Yeah. So here I try to get the idea of student engagement. This is a kind of the degree of attention, also curiosity, optimism, interest, and also patience that students demonstrate when learning. It also the extent to which students are engaging in activities linked with high quality learning outcomes. And it's more than involvement and participation. It requires feeling and sense making as well as activity. So this is what is students experience with the engagement. So the engagement will happen if they put more attention and they also have more curiosity and also activities in which those kind of activities and also can raise their attention, their curiosity, their optimism. And in the context of language learning, it is believed that acquisition will only take place when the learners engage with the language. So here, the engagement should be in two kinds. The first one is on the learners themselves to the uh, topics, to the ideas, but also to the language. There are three types of engagement. Next slide, Ibu. The first one is behavioral, and then emotional, and then cognitive. So the first one dealing with the student active participation in the learning activities. It could be positive, but it could be also negative. And then the emotional here is how students feel toward the delivery of the method or the topic on the instructor. So it is really to whether they like or not. And then the cognitive one, if when they have motivation, they investing themselves in the learning, or they persistent to overcome academic challenges. They seek beyond the requirement and they enjoy the challenge. And also a type of engagement, the last one is deep processing information. And in line with this, Renandia said that deep learning can only happen when learners are behaviorally, cognitively, actively, and socially engaged. Without those four kind of engagement, then deep learning will not happen. And we can see if the deep learning will not happen in the students' cognitive. Uh, we can say that it is a kind of failure for us. The next slide. Uh, and then this is engagement, and I try to explore more what is meant by readiness in online learning, because this again I try to reflect myself about the readiness. What should be prepared by teachers and what should be prepared by teachers in online learning. Ibu, would you please next slide? So the term of readiness, it deals with the readiness of the teacher in terms of internet self-efficacy, and then learner control, and also motivation for learning, and also the capability of online communication, and then self-directed learning. Is we see that readiness is also one key factor shaping the effectiveness of online learning. And there are also many other theories about readiness in online learning. One of them is readiness was one of the strongest predictors of satisfaction for students in online learners or online courses. Bapak Ibu, then if we are not ready, then what will happen to our students? They will not have any satisfaction. And based on this, I'll show you the result of my survey related to the student perception on their engagement, beside the one that I shared previously, I put the result of the perception relating to what activities that they want or they expected to have in the online learning. So the first one is they will be more engaged if the topic is interesting. This is in the first rank. And the second one, the creativity in presenting the topic or the content. So they demand that the teachers or the lecturer should be very creative in presenting the topic. And then challenging discussion and activities leading to further discussion. This is related to what I have said in the first part, because the teacher dominating the classroom talk, and then they do not have any chance to share their idea or whatever and the like. They cannot discuss with it. So all of them, almost all of them, want that the online learning is in the form of a kind of discussion. And in the discussion, the teacher are supposed to create challenging questions so that they can make the question as a prompt to lead to further discussion. The next one is a good communication and interaction between teacher and students. So since what happened is teacher talk, teacher centered, there is considered that the teacher do not have good communication and interaction with the students. And then this is the next rank, is that when the teacher provide discussion, it seems that the teacher could not handle the discussion well. So they want that the teacher should improve the way they handle the discussion. The next one is the use of video, audio, visual, infographic, and also website and interactive application. This is very much needed and wanted by the students, because so many teachers only provide words, text, not followed by infographic or audio visual. Only some or even few teachers provide video. And the next one is simplicity. They want to be simple due to some reasons. And then the next one is humor and also patience. So they find out that many teachers do not have any sense of humor in online learning, and they are not patient, because when I interview them, they are not patient if they are late due to the internet connection, and they are not patient when they do not show up their face because of also internet connection, something like that one. And then they also want that we sometimes provide games. And the last one is teacher's responsibility. This is due to the teacher's responsibility on providing feedback. And this is what makes them more engaged in their perspective, on the student's perspective. And the next one is the result on the student perception on the readiness. Would you go to the next slide, Ibu? Okay. So the perceptions on the readiness related to a good internet access, and then next slide, Ibu, please. Yes. On the motivation, the first one is the motivation. So if they are motivated, then they will be much more ready. And then good internet access, and then laptop. Some of the students do not have laptop. They have to use their handphone. And then reading target. They are also motivated on this one. And then physical condition. Some students said that online learning need more energy. And teachers discipline. Some teachers are not disciplined in terms of they changing the schedule, they changing and what is it, topic, and also what is it called? They end and also length the time of their meeting. And then the next one is learning resources. And the readiness also related to the previous material. If they are not ready with the previous material, they do not know about the previous material, they feel that they are not ready. And then the mood, and the last one, the LMS. So there are some that cannot be handled by the teachers or the lecturers, like LMS, and also what is it, laptop, and also the internet access. But the others are related to the effort of the teacher to help the student to be more ready in online learning. And then based on this result, I then try to, what should we do as teachers to in to increase the student engagement. And I try to seek for the help from the theories, and then I find out that one proposed by Willy Renandia. The next slide, Ibu. There are five C's to increase student engagement. The first one is choice. The choice here related to what the student want in terms of satisfying their eagerness to find their own material, to find their own task. So teachers should provide more choices for the students in terms of the material and also in the task. And then competence, this is the second. The student will be more satisfied when they are able to do the task which is in line with their competence. So the task should not be too difficult or beyond, far beyond their competence. And then curiosity, this relate to the activities that should be developed in terms of how they can fulfill about what they want, what they know, what to solve, and also in the way they gain the knowledge. And then the challenge here also related to the activities. It is suggested it should be in line with what crescents have. So the challenge here means that we have to give them activities and also material in which it's fulfilling the idea of E+1. And then the last one is collaborations. The collaboration related to the sense of relatedness. They will feel comfortable when they are able to seek help from their peers and also from their friends. And of course, they will explore knowledge without being competing or without being pushing by others. So it is a kind of good collaborations. And to do this one, of course, in online learning, teachers should be also needed to increase or to improve their readiness and to increase their teacher readiness to fulfill what the student need. There are 6 competencies or skills that the teacher should also have in fulfilling the success of online learning. The first one is the next slide, Ibu. There are 6 skills for online learning. The first one is pedagogical skills. It relates to the theories of learning, theories of learning style, and also how we should develop student-centered approach and also collaborative learning. So it is the major task of the teacher related to pedagogical skill. And then content skills. The content skill here related to how we develop the course online, designing the teaching, developing the learning resources, and then linking the subject to the specific content and so on and so forth. And then technological skill, it relates, the next one is the design skill. The design skill here related to how we design the task. And then the next one is technological skills. This is how we manage technology to aid our teaching learning process, because online learning put heavily on the technology. So we have to have the skill of technological. And then the next one is management and institutional skill. This is related to the management, the aspect of education, managing courses, and then also learning environment. And the last one is social and communicative skills. It relates to how we should interact with the student, maintaining a warm, friendly, inviting atmosphere, and then respectful relationship and sense of unity among the learners. And there are many others related to this number 6. So Bapak Ibu, I think the online teaching skill, in my perception, also it needs a great effort for all of us to fulfill these competencies in online teaching skills. Maybe we are good in pedagogical skill if we have face-to-face learning, but in terms of online learning, then the other skill is becoming our weaknesses. So what then we have to do is, since we have practices this for 6 months, then we have to do a kind of reflections, whether we have been successful so far, and then we can do it by doing a kind of action research. We can do it by doing a kind of lesson study or other professional development. And then I followed in the next slide is, are you ready, Hasti? Something like that one. This is my own question. If we demanded in that far, apakah Bu Hasti siap? Are you ready, Bu Hasti? And I will say, I don't know yet. Maybe with the help of Pak Oda later, I will say that I am ready. But for now, then fulfilling this online teaching skill as the requirement of conducting online learning is far beyond this. Thank you so much, Bapak Ibu. This is what I can share. Saya akhiri. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Hasti, for sharing with us your experience in responding to the situations that actually forces all of us to go online with our classes. Thank you very much, Bu Hasti. Now we will proceed to our second speaker, Ibu Dr. Listiani. She's a senior lecturer and associate professor at the English Language Education Program, Faculty of Language and Arts, Universitas Kristen Satyawacana, Salatiga, and she's been teaching there since March 1999. And in August 2017, she got her doctorate degree from State University of Semarang or UNES, majoring in English language education. Her main research interests are academic writing and SLA. Today, we're going to listen to her presentations under the title of Online Learning. If we cannot change the situations, we have to change. Ibu Listiani, are you ready?
Thank you. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, Ibu, the time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Morning, distinguished speakers, committee, and all participants. Let me start my sharing this morning. It is about if we cannot change the situation, then we have to change. We here, are not only teachers, but also parents and students. Okay. Let me share my slide. Kok nggak bisa ya? Oh, ya sudah. Okay, wait.
Okay. Do you have any problem with sharing your screen? No.
I cannot. Okay, wait.
Budita?
Oh ya. Nah itu sudah. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay, this is the title of my presentation. If we cannot change the situation, then we have to change. So once again, we here refers to not only teachers, but also parents and students. Okay, the ideal condition of a classroom, of course, teaching learning process is conducted in the classroom with walls, okay, in a physical classroom. And then the teacher is there. And then there are classmates or peer students beside us, beside the students. And then interactive learning activities are happening. And then face-to-face or direct interaction take place. Also, there is direct communication. And there is group work or pair work. And the list may continue. However, Bapak Ibu, what is the reality? The reality is contagious pandemic COVID-19 is spreading all over the world. And online learning or distance learning or what we know as PJJ, ya, pembelajaran jarak jauh, must be done. And all teachers, students, and parents, whether they want it or not, must be prepared and get ready for the changes, including us. Now, if we see rapid changes are happening, there are so many sectors hit by this pandemic COVID, like household or families. Okay, and then economic sector and then next, education. Yeah, all levels of education from primary, preschool, secondary, and even tertiary level. And then next is industry, small scale and middle scale industries, which are mostly hit by the effects of this pandemic COVID-19. Okay, and there are still other aspects which are hit badly by this pandemic COVID. Now we come to a question: what should teachers and students do? Okay, there are so many choices. Should we refuse the great changes, or should we accept the reality?
Or should we wait and see? Or should we wait for another year until the pandemic COVID is eradicated? Or should we take all the challenges? Now, before we answer the question, let's take a look at what the theory says first. There's a very famous theory called diffusion of innovation theory, or DOI, and it was first developed by Rogers. Okay, if we see the theory, everybody, there are groups of people called innovators, and then early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. Now let's see one by one. We have innovators, adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. Okay, now let's see what is meant by innovators. Young teachers usually, or young people are innovators. The first 2.5% of individuals adopt an innovation, and these people are called innovators. They are pioneers with the most courage to accept the innovation. Then we have adopters. Okay, the next 13.5% are called early adopters. They are stakeholders in a social system, and usually they lead people to change. They seek information and advice from pioneers. Next, we have early majority. The third group of people is called early majority, and they belong to 34% of the group. These people have higher alert and interests in new ideas, and they adopt new ideas after other successful experiences. So they kind of wait and see first. They are mainly learning from their close associates or colleagues or friends, and they are relying on personal communication channels to diffuse the innovation. They are more risk-averse than early adopters, and they take a longer time to evaluate all possibilities before accepting the innovation. Maybe I belong to this group, early majority. Now let's see late majority. Similar to early majority, this group also occupy 34% of the population. They are usually conservative, cautious, and suspicious. Even though innovation has been tried safely by most of the early majority and early adopters. The main reasons for the delay in adoption are their feeling of uncertainties and caution caused by limitation of resources and inadequate information. Now let's see laggards. The last group is called laggards. They are conservatives or vulnerable. They have fewer resources. They have limited information, unstable incomes, and they are isolated from the social support system. And they are falling behind due to neglect of social system. Now the question is, which group do we belong to? I think for young teachers or lecturers or people who are fond of technology will be innovators or early adopters. Now, everybody, I have done a small scale survey. Actually, I asked my students last semester and also this semester after I got invitation to be the speaker of this sharing session. Then I conducted another small scale survey, and I conducted survey on the readiness and difficulties on Kelon, what we know as kelas online. I asked 35 respondents or participants. I asked 8 university lecturers from any department, not only from UKSW, and then 13 teachers from various levels of education, starting from preschool, primary, and secondary schools, inside and outside Java. I asked 3 teachers outside of Java. 2 are in Papua and 1 in West Borneo, or West Kalimantan. I also asked 9 parents with children from various levels of education. And most of my respondents or students, I asked 35 students from last semester and this semester's classes. Okay, here's what I got. Let's start from the university lecturers. They said that they have various experiences in conducting online learning. There were some funny experiences in which one of the lecturers invited the wrong students for a virtual meeting. And then some of the lecturers even invited students at the wrong time or date. They used Zoom or Google Meet, but they invited students at the wrong time or date. And some of the lecturers mentioned that they are adjusting assessment, including me, by replacing tests which require memorization with other projects which require understanding and more on students' opinions. And also some lecturers mentioned that they have to understand the students' limitations and weaknesses during this pandemic COVID. It means maybe they are a little bit lowering the standard of expectations, not as high as with offline classes. Now let's move to teachers. I asked teachers from many levels of education. They are teaching in private schools and also in public schools, and they have various experiences and problems. Some of the teachers deal with students declining motivation and spirit during this online learning. And some teachers found students' internet connection and data plans were so limited. But when they came to gaming and watching YouTube videos, then suddenly they had enough data plans. Some teachers found lack of support from parents who don't pay attention to their kids during this online learning. There is also a lack of attention from students, but some students miss the teacher so much that they have the computers. The students said that they want to have the computer because they miss the teacher so much, and the computer represented the teacher. Yeah? So it happened in an elementary school. Yeah? Some teachers mentioned that teachers must be creative. We must be artists. Yeah? So they said that kita harus bisa jadi artis dadakan. Yeah? Suddenly, our teachers are acting in front of the camera and they become actors or actresses, and teachers must be ready for that. Some teachers even provided explanation of the materials in 3 forms. There is in learning videos or video pembelajaran, PPT slides, and PDF file. Now let's see what do parents say. Some of them say that the children are bored with monotonous online learning. And also some of them complain that children lose spirit to study, even become apathetic, jadi sangat cuek, yeah, and don't want to study anymore. Yeah. And it did happen. Some children get lots of distractions studying at home, like disturbance from siblings, noisy surroundings, and some others. Now let's see students' opinions. From the 65 students, here is what I got. Internet connection is still experienced by many students, 15 students. And then 13 students experienced internet connection problems and understanding of the materials. And then 9 students said that they had no problems at all. So these 9 students must be the high achieving students. Sorry. Next, internet connection and understanding of teacher feedback. This happened to 7 students, and an understanding of the materials only happened to 6 students. And then 6 students also had communication and interaction problems. They could not communicate directly with the teachers and peer students. 4 students said that they had problems in understanding teacher feedback. 2 students had problems with motivation. 2 other students had had problems with concentration, or they got distractions in learning online. And only 1 student had problems with time management. Now, let's have several things to ponder upon, to reflect. What is next? First, I'd like to remind all EFL teachers that online learning is not the same as face-to-face learning with direct interaction. There are so many limitations and weaknesses that we cannot do during online learning as what we did during face-to-face learning with direct interaction and communication. Secondly, we cannot force face-to-face teaching learning process or online teaching learning process. So once again, we should never force face-to-face teaching learning process to online teaching learning process. These two might complement each other, but not replaceable. Next, we should see this opportunity we should see this situation as an opportunity, not as a threat. We should learn, select, explore, and apply teaching techniques and media. And then EFL teachers should not forget to teach affective factors. This is also mentioned by Ibu Hasti previously, that students' engagement will go well if the students learn behaviorally, cognitively, and affectively. And so Fabio Coelho also mentioned this, that teachers should not forget to teach affective factors, not only cognitive. Next, the best and most sophisticated apps, we should remember, may not be the best for our students. We know our students' condition and situation best. Then we have to adjust the techniques and media to be applied in our learning, in our online classes. Then we have to remember that students' understanding and comfort in learning should be prioritized. What I mean by comfort means students' psychological condition. It means students being free from anxiety, pressure, frustration due to overwhelming materials, too many assignments, and inability to digest materials without face-to-face interaction. So Bapak Ibu, that's all I can share this morning. Thank you for listening. Hopefully we can strengthen one another by sharing our problems and experiences. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Listiani. That's a very nice topic. Okay. Thank you for sharing your insights, Bu, about how and why we need to change regarding this online time, and in what group we are standing now in this Kalon situations, ya, Bu.
Kalon.
Okay. Again, I remind all of our participants that those who join the YouTube Live, you may drop your questions. If you have any questions to our speakers here, you can drop your questions on the chat column, and also for those who join this Zoom meeting. Okay, thank you again, Bu Listiani. And now we'll proceed to our third speaker. The third speaker will be Ibu Alisa Hardati, SVD MPD from Universitas Mercu Buana, Yogyakarta. She earned both her bachelor degree and master degree of education from Universitas Negeri Semarang, and she's been working as the chairperson of English Language Education Study Program at Universitas Mercu Buana, Yogyakarta since 2018. Ibu Elisa, are you there?
Yeah, sure.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, Bu Rena.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ibu Elisa, who's going to present her ideas about hybrid flexibility, a bridge for student-teacher engagement during online learning. Okay, Bu Elisa, the screen is yours.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Bu Rena, for the opportunity given to me. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Morning, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Rector and Vice Rectors of Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa, and then the Chairperson of English Department, Pak Ansel, and also the distinguished speakers from Universitas Kristen Satya Wacana, Bu Listi, and then Bu Hasti from UST, and Pak Oda from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Good morning. I feel so honored anyway here because I'm sitting here among the great speakers, and they are all my seniors, especially in the English department. And here, probably, I would like to share what I experienced in my university, what's going on during this pandemic, instead of talking more about the theories, because Bu Hasti and also Bu Listi have already done with it, and it's so complete enough. Okay, Bapak Ibu, I'll show you my slides. Later on, I also need your participation anyway, so please just feel free to to respond for any questions or probably comment that I need you to have in this session. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to talk about hybrid flexibility. I do hope that this is kind of a hope for us to bridge the student-teacher engagement during this.
You muted, Bu. You muted unaccidentally.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Please unmute.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about this hybrid flexibility as our hope anyway, to cope with this problem, especially during this pandemic, in which we have to deal with the teaching and learning, which is done online. So, Bapak Ibu, I would like to have your participation anyway to go to menti.com and use this code, and later on it will appear our reflection anyway, because I'm sure have this online learning or not. Could you please go to the menti.com and insert this code? And while waiting for that, probably I'm going to have it in 1 minute. I'm going to ask Bu Rena.
Okay, Bu, I'm here.
A lecturer, right? So
yeah,
are you actually ready enough for this online learning, Bu?
Well, actually, if you ask me whether I'm ready or not, I'm not. But I have to be ready for this online learning. So I think all of us are trying to adapt into these situations to go online. So yes, I think I have to be ready.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Bu Rena. And I guess, most I do not know. It should be 100 and something, right? Participants who take part in this session. But there are not many still in the process of responding. Burena, if you are not ready, me too actually, Bu. But have to be ready for that because yeah, the condition forces us to do so, right? But yeah, some or most of the participants here are ready enough for the online learning, so that's a good news then. Or Bapak Ibu, if you want to comment, you may also drop your response in the chat box. Yeah, that's good. That most of the respondents right now are ready enough for online learning. I think we have already get adapted with this situation, right? Thank you for participating, Bapak Ibu. But some also know, yeah, that is okay. I think it is human being. Yes, I think we have already learned from the previous semester that we had. So we have already gotten adaptation for that. Okay, thank you. I'll back to this. As Bu Hasti and also Bu Listi stated that online learning right now becomes a new normal, right? And we also do not know probably it will be permanent. Probably we have already enjoyed this kind of teaching and learning. So yeah, so finally we think that yeah, this is good as well to be applied in our teaching and learning process. But basically for the online learning, there are many things that the student and also the teacher need, right? And computer, I think this is a main tool to conduct this online learning. Gadget, yeah, computer or gadget. And I'm sure for gadget, everybody has already, what is it, had it. But we do not know with the data plan. Internet connection, yes. Are we reached with a good internet connection or not? I mean, I here is the teacher and also the student. Mental readiness, yes, this is important, I think, because if our mental is not ready to face this kind of situation, yeah, it's gonna be the same. I mean, like you have already prepared all the things, but your mentality to learn for the students or to teach for the teachers when you are not ready enough for that, yeah, what is it? The materials that you try to deliver to the students will be just stuck, or probably it cannot reach or it cannot be transferred to the students. So mental readiness, and I think this is a important point. And the last one is engagement. So it is close to the mental readiness. Engagement is about the degree of attention, curiosity, interest, optimism, and patience that students and teachers show when they are learning or teaching, which extends to the level of motivation in the education. So from the engagement here, we get a key that motivation here is the core of the, what is it, to learn. And not only from the teachers, but also the students. Both of them need to be engaged each other. Usually we talk about students engagement, but what about the teachers? Do the teachers really engage in their teaching? Yeah, it is also a reflection for us whether we are actually ready or not for this. There are many researchers anyway already talked about the learning engagement, as Bu Hasti also already done, Bu Listi as well. And here actually I also did this in my previous semester, because when the pandemic attacks at that time, yes, there are many changing that we also need to change, not only from the teachers and also the students. Research on learning engagement consistently recognizes engagement as essential for student satisfaction and completion. This is from Pukul and also Robinson and Hallinger. So if we are engaged with our teaching and learning, especially for the students, they will also get a satisfaction in their learning, and it is shown in their academic success, or really engage with that. Do the teachers really engage when it is transformed into online learning? Yes. This these were what happened in my university, especially in the previous semester. There are many students dropped out from the online class. We tried to contact them, but they had no they had no response. They dropped out from several classes. Most of them informed that they got a difficult internet connection. So they couldn't continue for the classes. And then the students also felt that too many assignments demanded. Why there are too many assignments demanded? Because later on I will show it to you what is going on in my university, what kind of platform that we use. So finally, they think that, oh, there are many assignments demanded because in the platform that we used, there is also a requirement for the lecturers to give the assignment to the students. So yeah, I think it is something that needs to be evaluated later on. But I do not know with your online learning platform, probably it is different, but I just want to share what's going on with my own, right? And then late submission, of course. But we as the lecturers still tolerate for this, as far as the students try to catch up the assignments that we give to them. And then the students also thought that yes, there was less interaction between the student and the teacher, and also among the students themselves. And what about the teachers or lecturers? Yes, prepared materials are needed. I mean, like the pandemic, which started to happen in Indonesia since in March, yeah. It made us quite shocked with all the things, especially for the teachers, right? We have already prepared materials for the face-to-face learning, but finally we have to switch the materials that must be delivered by online. So if we if we didn't really prepare for the materials very well, so it can be such a burden for us, because we have to make the handout first, and then we have to make the PowerPoint and the other else. Apalagi ya Bapak Ibu, mungkin biasanya it is a reflection for me and will probably the others. Kadang kita kalau face-to-face learning, we do not prepare anything karena semuanya sudah dilakukan setiap semester ya, materinya sama. So maybe we do not really prepare the materials, but because the pandemic happens and we have to switch the mode of teaching and learning, we have to make the PDF file as like Bu Listi stated before, and then PowerPoint, video as well, and so on and so on. And because of this unpreparation, we found that there was 1-2 lecturers only took a photo of a book and then uploaded in the e-learning platform. So yeah, it is. That's what happened gitu. Jadi memang it needs what is it? It needs much preparation for that. Nah, so finally it leads into administrative burden, Bapak Ibu. In my case here, there is like a demand from the university that we have to upload several components in our online learning platform. There are quite many, 3 until 5 components. So yeah, go back to the preparation, right? If we do not prepare for the early semesters, we will get burdened with this. But thanks God, I think right now the lecturers are already ready for this because not all of them are in a good financial condition. Not all of them are in a good internet connection. So that is why the knowledge of synchronous and asynchronous teaching should be mastered by the teachers or lecturers. And in the end, yes, the teachers should exercise more on his or her empathy, especially for the. I took this in general anyway, Bapak Ibu, from the survey that we delivered to the students. First, the students couldn't follow each meeting in the online learning. Yes, this happens, and it also still happens to the students. So they couldn't follow each meeting in the online learning. Usually, it is because of their connection or their busyness, right? Okay, and then the second one, the students couldn't understand the materials uploaded in the e-learning platform provided by university. I don't know with your students, but this was also quite common in my university in classes that they couldn't understand the materials uploaded. They needed another platform or another application to support their understanding toward the materials. So we as the lecturers sometimes have an online, synchronous online learning using Zoom or Google Meet or WhatsApp. But unfortunately, it burdened the students financially. You can imagine if we use Zoom meeting. It takes a lot of data plan anyway, data connection. And yeah, we as the lecturers also need to rethink what kind of application, especially the low bandwidth technology that can help them still understand the materials very well. But finally, we use kind of WhatsApp group. And then the next one, they couldn't reach the internet connection in their area. I just met my students this week anyway, because this week is our first meeting. We have just started our first meeting in this semester. And yes, I cannot imagine what happened in the previous semester, because when I'm having a meeting, a virtual meeting at that time, my students were at the beach. So they have to go 3 kilometers away from their home to reach the internet connection behind the forest. So yeah, you can imagine that. I mean, like, that is why I said that we need to exercise our empathy for that. They have to struggle to go to somewhere. Sometimes they have to go to the downtown to reach the internet connection. Even when I had a consultation for Scriptsy, students also went to a middle of a forest, kebun kelapa sawit at that time, to reach the internet connection. So we also need to appreciate their struggle for that. And the last, their environment didn't really support them into online learning, especially for the financial factor. As I said previously, there are some students who do not come from the good economy family. So yes, some of their parents get a hired. So the students, their parents as well need to have another side job to do, and they help their parents. So that is why sometimes we also tolerate the students' condition that, oh yeah, in the morning they will help for their parents, and then they can catch up the materials usually 3 days later, or probably 2 days later, or in the evening. So those kind of things that we also need to to show our empathy to them. So what to do from the teacher's perspective? As a teacher, we need to know our students, care and see them as a human being. I see this from psychologically ya, Bapak Ibu. Karena saya juga suka belajar psikologi. So know your students very well, care and see them as a human being. Be present for them. Biasanya saya ngecek, kok anak ini si A tumben-tumbennya nggak mengerjakan, karena biasanya di tatap muka dia selalu present. So be present for them. Be flexible with your teaching rules. Nah, jadi jangan terlalu saklek dengan teaching rules yang sudah di-set di awal, karena ini kondisinya berbeda. This is a condition that actually we don't want to happen, right? And then provide alternatives for them, especially the modalities, the media, the materials, to engage with your teaching and learning process. And project-based learning can be an alternative. This is what we did and what we are doing right now, that all of the subjects, maybe not all, but most of the subjects that we teach, we make them into a project-based learning as the approach. Because later, in the end of this semester, you have to be able to, to create a project that the teacher or the lecturer instructed to you, no matter how. So the assignment that we give to them, meeting by meeting, usually we just give them like, okay, prepare for this project for the 3 upcoming weeks, for example, and then give them feedback as always. Ini yang ditunggu oleh mahasiswa. If you just demand your students to do the assignments without giving them feedback, it's also nothing, right? So give them feedback as always. That is why we need this project-based learning. Jadi ada project, mereka akan berprogres, mereka akan berproses, kemudian kita berikan feedback, they will revise and so on until the project is done. This is what the teachers should do from the teacher's perspective. And here, this is what I'm talking anyway, about hybrid flexibility, or probably you are familiar with HyFlex. So hybrid mode is defined as the combination between face-to-face and distance classroom meeting. Or probably you are also familiar with the blended learning. And during this pandemic, the face-to-face meeting, because we cannot meet them directly, it can be replaced into virtual meeting by having synchronous learning. And there are many ways to have this synchronous learning, probably by video, virtual meeting, or WhatsApp if you want to have the low bandwidth technology. This is what I did in this semester because my
Lisa, sorry.
Yeah.
3 minutes more.
3 minutes more. Okay, I make it faster. So this is some media that I used in this semester because this is the first meeting. So I think we need to meet each other, but I cannot force them to be present in the online meeting. I use Google Meeting, Zoom, WhatsApp. But in my university, it is still a must for the lecturers to upload the materials by this e-learning site, which is owned by the university. And what I told you before, that the components is like this. So we have 3 until 5, and sometimes it burdens the students and also the teachers by having the video and then assignment, forum. But usually this forum is not that synchronous. For the synchronous, we have this WhatsApp or Google Meeting. But it is not always in each meeting, Bapak Ibu. But yeah, it depends on the portion because we also need to know the students' condition. So this is hybrid flexibility. I know this from the webinar, which is held by the principles of hybrid flexibility here is about the student choice. The primary reason for using a HyFlex is to give the students choice in how they complete course activities in any given week or topic. And then it talks also about the equivalency by providing equivalent learning activities in all participation modes. And then reusability, utilizing artifacts from learning activities in each participation mode as learning objects for all students. Accessibility, equipping the students with technology skills and access to all participation modes. This is the hybrid flexibility anyway. And some of schools in a senior high or junior high, or probably in a PAUD, my daughter, also trying to have this hybrid flexibility. So we have 2 choices, whether the students go to school, having face-to-face meeting or online meeting. So there is, there are choices that are offered to the students. Hybrid flexibility. And I think Mas Menteri, Pak Nadiem also instructed this to us. And yes, this is actually what I just want to suggest for the students. So the students, please know that you are not alone. Engage with your teacher and classmates. Keep contacted with them. And then in this pandemic, actually, it is also time for you to find your learning style and be self-regulated learner by having time management and the other else. And for teachers, you are also not alone. Keep your mental health, teachers. So just enjoy this moment because it is also your task to educate your students and keep motivating your students. So Bapak Ibu, I think that's it that I can share to you. Hopefully, yes, we can hand in hand face this condition and solve the problems. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bu Elisa, for sharing an interesting idea and why we need to, to develop an attitude to use hybrid flexibility in conducting our online classes, especially us as teachers. Thank you again, Bu Elisa.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. All participants, now we've come to our last presenters. our early gentleman presenter, Bapak Uda Tenaida IDD. He's a lecturer and also the vice rector for collaborations and alumni at Universitas Sanata Dharma Yogyakarta. Well, Pak Oda, are you ready for sharing with us your ideas?
Yes.
Okay, Pak Oda, and then the screen and the time are yours. Thank you, Pak Oda.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. And I think I'm thankful that I'm invited to this meeting. Thank you, Pak Imam, Pak Hansel, Bu Yuyun. I saw her this morning also on the screen. And also congratulations to the committee who have prepared everything. So I think as the last speaker, it's very easy, I think, for me, because everyone has presented very good examples of how to cope with this situation. And also everyone was asking questions, more or less, the same questions like, are you ready? How are you? And so forth. So I think there's a very good song from the Fugees, I think 1996. One of the lines in the lyrics was "Ready or not, here I come." So I think that's the pandemic. So whether we are ready or not, the pandemic is here with us. So I think, yeah. So I think to answer that question, then I'll just show what we are going to talk about. So, okay, if you can pin me so that everyone can see. Can you see the writing on my screen? Is it big enough?
Very clearly, Pak. Very
okay,
clearly.
very good. Thank you. So these are the ideas that I'm going to talk about. First, I'll be talking about my position because most questions was, like, are we ready? So I think this will be my position and then the condition that we have. Okay, most of you, Dr. Hasti, Dr. Listi, and also Ms. Elisa already talked about the condition in their own university, but also I think if there are some teachers from high school, for example, then you can also use that one. And then Dr. Hasti also and Dr. Listi talk about the engagement. I'll be talking about engagement, but it's more on the theoretical basis rather than the examples. But we have examples from 3 different universities. I think that is good. I think that is similar to our condition also. And also how to improve the engagement. And then I'll be talking a little bit about backward design and how to incorporate Ki Hajar's teaching paradigm. He's from Taman Siswa. I think, maybe I interpreted that incorrectly. If you haven't read this book, I think, this is Mira. So there are 2 books. One is on kebudayaan, culture, and the other one is on pendidikan. The yellow one is on pendidikan. So I think there are some great ideas. I really like Ki Hajar because he's very fluent in the thought and also language. Maybe 4 languages, like he's writing in Japanese, Indonesian, English, and also Dutch. So, and the great ideas are there. And one is adapted. Later I'll be talking about that. So first, probably I'll show you my position. So here is my position. So I would say that the purpose of education is learning. And then despite COVID-19 pandemic, learning should happen without putting anyone in danger. That is my position. So I think I need to underline learning and danger. Now I think many people are confused about this situation. I feel sad that some school, they stop the learning. That is very sad condition. But, on the other extreme, some school, they open the school without, proper health measures there. So I think that is very dangerous. So this is also sad condition that people are putting the kids in the dangerous situation. So I think I will not recommend that. So we should be in the middle. Learning should happen, but with great caution, especially with health. So yeah, that is my position related to the questions from Dr. Hasti and also Dr. Listi and also Ms. Elisa. So this is my position. So I think if teachers, lecturers, students are having the same position as myself, I think that would be good. So, be safe is important, learning is important, but we cannot trade that. Okay. So that is the first position. So as teachers, and also maybe if we are in the management of university or school, we have to think about these two things, the like health related policy, because as a teacher you have to some extent power to control the class, so that's your policy, and also learning, so in the first one related to health related policy, our policy should not put our community in the dangerous zone, dangerous area, in danger. So I think that's what we have to do as teacher, as parents, and also if you are in the administration. That is number one, very, very important. Number two, that is related to learning itself. I think some examples that has been given, that is real example, and some illustration, like you're working from the sawit plantation, for example. You have to go to the beach, you have to climb, a tree. Then another thing, as a teacher, as lecturers, that we have to think very carefully is digital divide. So ketimpangan digital. Some people can have access, some people don't have. So I think that is why I'm not talking only about online learning, but I prefer to talk about remote learning. So Bu Listi already mentioned PJJ, for example. So it's a remote learning. So there are two options there, actually. A few months ago, we had a talk, also a webinar with some teachers. And one of the teacher in Kalimantan, for example, asked, we don't have the internet. How can we do online teaching? And I said, no, you cannot. Online teaching requires, internet. But if you don't have internet, don't do it. Okay. So we can go to the first one. Then I think you remember the idea of UT, Universitas Terbuka, at the beginning of, like 1980s, during those time. So post office at that time, managing the learning, they send the materials, and then also the students will send the material back to the university or to the school. Now we have delivery service, GNA, GNT. This is not sponsored, but we have that. So if we don't have the second option, which is online, then we have to do offline learning. Why? Because the purpose of education is learning. So learning should happen no matter what. Okay, so that is my first idea. Offline, that is an option. Okay, especially like in Kalimantan, I've seen someone from Gunung Sitoli, Nias, just now, and also from Nusa Tenggara Timur, for example. If you don't have internet, then use post office. That is slower, yes, but at least the students are learning. That is most important. And then, of course, in online, we have synchronous, asynchronous. The previous speakers already mentioned that, how the students react to that. We have to think about synchronous and asynchronous. We need to talk about the whether internet connection is available or not, whether students can have, internet connection or not. That would be the consideration. If they cannot do that, then don't force them to do that. Like who Elisa just mentioned just now, that the policy sometimes force you to do something that you might not want to do, actually, right? Because the university, you have to, but I think you have to be in the side of the students, to help them. You have to what is it, post the material, okay, the system and so forth. So yeah, two things. Learning should happen, but we have to be aware of health issues, but also digital divide, those two things. Okay, and next, my part will be here why engagement. I think the speakers already mentioned that the reasons importance engagement. Dr. Hasi already talked about that, also Dr. Listi. So because of changing learning modality, then anxiety, especially anxiety, is very high. Actually, not only among students, but also among teachers and also lecturers, professors. So because anxiety is high, then normally motivation will be low, okay? If anxiety is too high, then it's stress. It's stress is too high, then depression, okay? So that's what we need to think about. So I think just now the previous speaker already shared that some students are dropping out, maybe because they cannot cope with the anxiety, and also they don't have the gadget and so forth. So I think these are the isolation, for example, this disconnection that creates low motivation, limited and unavailability of about that. Talk to them, send them messages if it is possible. Say hi to them is very important because they are very anxious. And purpose of learning. So if you give them assignments, talk to them. How will you give the assignment? What is your expectation? And then also, what is the purpose of learning? Because in the who I think Listi and also the previous speakers already mentioned that in the difference between face-to-face and online class. Sometimes in the everyday classes, face-to-face classes, students don't really have sense of purpose. What is the purpose of coming to school? They just come and sit and listen and then left. They do not realize the purpose. But we need to talk about it in online. What is the purpose of this? They need to pay extra money for their internet, and they have to work extra time. So if they have a sense of purpose, I think then their engagement will be higher. And also show hope. I think that is very important, because almost everyone now, it's a kind of hopeless. Because we don't know, then we are kind of hopeless. In the beginning of the pandemic, it was said like, oh, maybe 3 months we'll have the peak and then it will slow down. But now we are already in the 6 months, but it's still very, very high. I don't know in Salatiga, but in Jogja, I think these last 2 weeks, I think it's getting up and up and up. So it's, kind of that we are kind of hopeless. So hope, how to succeed, and sense of purpose, I think is very important. In normal classes, face-to-face classes, these are not normally discussed. You teach English, so speaking, okay, let's do it. But you don't talk about hope, you don't talk about success, you don't talk about purpose of life and so on. But now I think it's a time, though we are English teachers, but we need to talk about things that will help students to improve their quality of learning. Then this is how to control anxiety. So it's a quote from a Stoic philosophers. I like Stoicism because it's very similar to the philosophy of Japanese people, especially Japanese in the villages. I was born in a village, grew up in a village, and spent most of my young life in the village. And we don't have electricity, so we have lots of time to think and talk and listen to the elders. So, and I learned that most of the tenets, most of the beliefs in Stoicism is similar to Japanese belief, but in the Japanese in the village, simple but true. That is the basic thing. So this one is one of the philosophers. So make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. Our opinions are up to us, and our impulses, desires, aversion, in short, whatever is our own doing. So that is with us. Our bodies are not up to us, nor are our possessions, our reputations, our public offices, or that is whatever is not our own doing. So that is the one of the way how to control our anxiety as a teacher, and also to help students to control their anxiety, so that it will not lead to stress and leads to depression. So I think that's the very nice quote. And this is an old one. So from the year of 55, he lived during the first, maybe 2000 years ago. But then I think in a newer way, newer version, reducing anxiety is the circle of control. This one, if you remember, was actually posed about the circle of influence. There are things that we do with this, what things, remote learning, see your students, right? I'm talking to you now, but could be suddenly stopped because of the internet stop. Maybe, I cannot really control policy. We can sometimes, if you're in the administration, you can control policy, but if you're a teacher, this is very difficult sometimes to control. Gadget. So whether your students have gadget or not, equipment, you cannot control. And then also you have their computer, for example, regulation. Sometimes we as a teacher, we are spending too much time thinking about why the government don't do this, why the government don't do that. But actually that is in the circle of concern. You cannot really change, you cannot really do anything about that. So let's go back to the circle of control, our own teaching, our own decision. So you can make decision for your students, the best for your students, and then you can influence students' learning. Their learning will be better, hopefully. So using this circle of control, I think, and it's been there for a long time, hundreds of years, but also with us actually, especially here in Java, in the villages, people have that kind of limited resources, but then they control the resources, manage the resources very well. So to live in a simple way, but they're happy. So I think that's what I learned from this circle of control. And then next, how we design our class, because what we can control is only the one inside the circle, the closest circle to us. So here I'm showing the, but maybe the color is not very clear, the backward design. If you remember backward design, I think the first one is we talk about learning outcomes first. That is the first thing that we have to talk about. What do we want to do? So, of course, as a teacher, as a lecturer, learning should happen. That is the purpose. Okay, so that is why I was, talking about post office. If you don't have the internet, then you have to use, because the purpose is for the students to learn. Then next you talk about the how, and then the planning, and then how will you assess your students. And again, assessment should not be too complicated. That adds the anxiety of the students. Students are already very anxious, and from psychological theory of education that tests and assignment actually increases or increase anxiety. So can you design, for example, assignment that is low in anxiety, like just now the previous speaker talked about the project-based learning. Project-based learning, if you do that well, that could be a kind of low anxiety project, but it really depends on how you manage that.
Oda,
And then,
sorry.
okay,
Could you make
yes.
it in the next 5 minutes?
Okay, yeah. So this
Okay,
is my
thank you, Pak.
last
Okay.
slide. So yeah, I was just trying to combine the previous one that I had. So these are the three ideas that is great ideas from Ki Hajar Dewantara, and I don't know why the and that is beyond my control. The education department Indonesian kebudayaan pendidikan dan kebudayaan only take the last one, like separating the three ideas. I think that is not a good idea because only Tuturi Handayani. So this is my reading, my interpretation of this area, Ing Arso Sung Tulodo, Ing Matio Mangunkarso, and Tuturi Handayani. They are written in Japanese because Ki Hajar is also very fluent, not only in speaking, but thinking in Japanese way, I think. So the first one, this is my reading. In Arso Sung Tulodo, I interpreted that as providing and delivering relevant, contextual, rich, and compelling learning materials. That is what you have to have right now. If you look at the diagram of the backward design, then that is in the last process that you have these three, in the class, the area that you can control. So provide and deliver relevant, contextual, rich, and compelling learning material. So if you don't have internet, then you have to send it by mail, for example, but that should happen. And then the second one is Ing Matio Mangunkarso, creating engaging dialogues. That is my reading from this Ing Matio Mangunkarso. So synchronous is needed, but if you cannot have synchronous mode, then try to find another way in which you can have engaging dialogue, engaging discussion, and also other engaging activities with your students. So do not, in the previous talk, I was talking about do not get lost in the means, but you have to think about the purpose. That is why I introduced the backward design. You can read that yourself. That is the whole book of that. And the last one is Tuturi Handayani. In my reading in the class, in the last circle of the backward design, the area where you can control is your class. So providing meaningful and encouraging feedback. That is my interpretation, my reading of Tuturi Handayani. So this is not acting outside of the class, but you can bring that into the class. And I think the previous speakers already talked also about that the students are waiting for the feedback, whether have I learned something, have I learned that correctly. So that is what is needed from the teachers, from the lecturer. So providing meaningful and encouraging, that is very important also, because encouraging feedback, it's not necessary that you give A all the time, because you might be lying if you already give 10, but provide feedback, oh, you're good at this one, but you need to improve in this one. So that is more meaningful rather than, oh, you got A. Because I remember when in the beginning of the pandemic, I read somewhere in the social media, I think one of teachers or lecturer, I did not remember, but say all students should get A's this time because of the pandemic. Well, we have to think about that. Are we lying? Are we telling the truth? Is that meaningful feedback? Because if you give everyone A's, then maybe A is not meaningful. So maybe talking to them, giving them feedback is more meaningful rather than giving them grades and score, because grades and scores are normally making them anxious. So I think they are anxious enough. So we need to provide feedback that which, you know, encourage them, so that will lower their anxiety. So I think that concludes my talk. So the three teaching paradigms that I include that in the backward design, especially in the last step. So thank you very much, Ibu Rena. Thank you.
Thank you, Paude, for sharing with us interesting ideas, especially
you.
while learning should happen without putting anyone in danger, ya Pak.
Yeah.
And also we learned from you, from Stoicism, that actually there are things we cannot control, but there are also other things that we are able to handle, such as our teaching activity, and why it is very much important to encourage our students and also to reduce their anxiety. Okay, all participants, and now all of our presenters have presented their terrific ideas about different aspects on how to increase students' engagements and also readiness in this online learning time. And it is also important for us, from what we have learned so far, that we need to redefine the concept of readiness, as we are now responding to a special condition due to this pandemic era, and this is not a normal one. So that's why we need also to redefine our concept of readiness and how we need to react, how we need to respond to this situation. Okay, so while we are still waiting for your question and answer, that we are going to these sessions after this, I think I will sum up some of the things that we have learned from our panelists today. From Bu Hasti, our first speaker, we've learned about how important it is to us as teachers to respond to our students' need to be engaged in online language learning by improving our readiness in terms of how we conduct our online classes, and then how students can be encouraged to fully engage with these online situations, especially by developing our competencies and also online teaching skills as teachers. And then from the second speaker, Dr. Listiani, we learned about how teachers, parents, and students react to these situations, and then what challenges, what problems they have during these pandemic situations. And it is also important for us to adapt to these online situations in different ways. And as teacher, it is also important for us to remember that this is an opportunity for us to improve our skills and competencies in teaching by considering our students' situations and conditions. And then from Mbak Elisa, we learned how we can help our students to be fully engaged in our online classes by being flexible, considering many options and alternatives to help us choose appropriate techniques and media to conduct our classes. And Bu Elisa also stated that it is necessary to give choices for our students on how they can be engaged in online classes. And then the last one from Pak Oda, like I have said before, we need to remember that during this pandemic situation, it is important to make sure that the learning that we are conducting should be not putting anyone in dangers. And considering there is the situations when there is a technological or device gap, yeah, Pak, especially about the internet connections, whether our students have it or not, then we need to to design our learning activities by using any resources, whether the resources could be the online or offline. And then the important way could be like familiarizing the students with methods, techniques, and also purpose of learning. And also, it is interesting that actually the teachings or the principles of Ki Hajar's teachings, that is in Ngarsa Sungtolodo, Ing Madya Bangunkarsa, and also Tuturi Handayani can also be interpreted in how we conduct our classes, like engaging with dialogues and activities, and also how important it is to provide meaningful and encouraging feedback to our students. Again, I would like to express my gratitude to all of our speakers, presenters, for sharing with us your valuable experiences and best practices, ideas about our topic today. So now we will go to our question and answers. I will divide these sessions into two terms, and each term we will have three questions from the participants. For the participants who want to ask your questions directly, then you can raise hands, and our admin can mute your microphone so that you can direct your questions, or you can ask your questions directly. Or maybe while I'm waiting for Kalam, I will choose some of them. The first one is the questions for Bu Hasti. The question is from wait. Okay, for Bu Hasti, it is about the use of students are usually more interested and easier to understand the material through games. So how to create an interesting game in online learning? Is there any recommendations? And do we have any questions from the participants? Or
Yes,
maybe
I think I saw two people raising hands.
Okay. Bu Dita, could you help us
Yeah, I
muting
think
your microphone?
Bu Martini and the other one, I think there are two. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pauda. Bu Dita, maybe you can help us by muting. Okay. Bu Martini, do you
Yes,
want to
I
ask?
am.
Okay.
Yes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, all participants.
Morning.
My question will be go to everyone or to all the speaker.
Okay.
I'm a teacher in SME 1 Sedayu, an English teacher. And then in this pandemic, I just rely on Google Classroom and through WhatsApp. And then my problem is how to make my student engage in this. Two of them is about the internet connection and one is about the quota. So I have tried to chat them privately and talk, emotionally, but still I have a problem that some of them do not join my online teaching. So it's difficult for me to do the deep learning. Maybe Bu Hasti or Bu Listiani, Miss Elsa and Pauda can give a solution for my problems in online learning. And I agree with all of you, the ideas that you share to us. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah. Thank you, Bu Martini. So that's one question for all speakers. We are still waiting for another questions. Another person. Budita, maybe you need to mute.
I think Pak Imam is raising his hand.
Okay, Pak Imam. Please,
Thank
Pak
you.
Imam.
Thank you very much, Budina. I think my first question actually goes to Pak Oda, but also it's relevant to other panelists over there. In my conversation with some colleagues from Malaysia, from UiTM, for example, they view to this pandemic condition is different from ours. We see this condition as a handicap for delivering, quality education for our learners because of some restrictions from the physical and also from the technological and competence for that. But for them, it seems that it's a kind of a new challenge to enhance what they have given so far to the students. So it means that they don't. What should I say? They don't seem that this pandemic condition is a real problem for them to to maintain the quality of education. But with this, they want to like improve what they have got so far because of the possibility of applying what's called TPCK ideas to make the educations more quality better. So, okay. What do you think about this view, Pak Oda, and also others? Is it because of one's view, or is it representing that Malaysia and Indonesia is very different? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Pak Imam, for addressing the questions. Okay, so in this first term, we have 3 questions. One question is addressed to Puhasti, asking about how to create an interesting game in online learning, and if it is any recommendations. And then the second questions addressed by Ibu Martini, asking how to make students more engaged while teachers are using only Google Classroom and Google Meet, as they have also problems with their internet connections and data plan. And then she also stated that she agrees with all the ideas shared by our presenters today. And then the last question is from Pak Imam, who shared about a different idea from a university from Malaysia that sees this situation as a handicapped situation, and it is not really a problem, especially for Pak Oda. How do you think? What do you think about this view? Okay, so I think we need to go first to Puhasti. Puhasti.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Ibu. How to create games on online games to increase student engagement. One of the most popular game which is not right now is familiar for teachers and also lecturers is Kahoot. So you just what is it called? Downloaded the applications and then you create your game using that application. And it's very difficult to create ourselves the games, online games. But I think I do not think it is a kind of recommendation. But I just share a link, provide some or many games here, and it's about community articulate articles. There are 10 free e-learning games, starting from matching game, and then also visual logic, group and spoke, and then created your own quest, quizify games, and question challenge, and many others. So from this link, you can have the template of online game, and you can fill in this template what kind of grammar game that you are going to have for your student. So that is a good template for you, I think, to make your grammar class is more interesting by using this template of game. I think this is my answer for Ren.
Okay. Thank you, Puhasti, for answering the first questions. And now we go to the second question. So, because the question is addressed to all the speakers who want to answer the questions. By Lisa, Listiani.
Okay, I'm trying to answer Bu Martini's question. I think Bu Martini here is the headmaster of SMA 1 Sedayu ya, Bu? Okay, yeah. How to get more engaged? I mean, how to make the students more engaged with the online learning? I think what Bu Martini has already done is already on the track, Ibu. So you have already used the Google Classroom as your asynchronous mode, and then you also follow up with the WhatsApp group to have it synchronously, probably. But yeah, unfortunately, some of them also do not really follow the WhatsApp discussion. It is common. It also what happens in my own experience in teaching and learning. So I think what you have already done have already been on the track, Bu Martini. But as Pak Oda also said, we cannot control someone's mind. We cannot control someone's idea. We do not know what's actually going on with the student itself. But just keep motivating them. Try to keep encouraging them. Keep contact as well. Meskipun tadi tidak ada jawaban, no response, but I think you have already done your best. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Elisa and Bu Martini. I hope it can answer your questions. And then we go to the last questions. Pak Oda, would you please answer Pak Imam's questions by giving your opinion regarding the situations that Pak Imam has explained?
Okay, thank you very much. If can I comment also on the previous question?
Sure.
Because
Please.
Bu Martini is teaching my. I was studying there. That was my high school, and she was my classmate actually when we were in high school. Yeah,
He is my student, I think.
Oh yeah. So we are all connected. Small world. What I need to emphasize here, and I think also that happens to many of us, that we need to understand there are two things. We get used to standardized system of education. Meaning, standardized is you have to have 16 meetings. You have to attend the class 50 minutes. Everything is standardized. You have to pass the test. And I think we cannot apply that anymore in this condition. If you do that, many students will fail. The purpose of education is not to fail students, but to help students succeed. So I think the approach that we can use now is mastery learning system. Mastery learning. I think we have discussed this, but we never use it. So as long as the student master the topic, no matter how long, no matter whether they come to class once or 16 times, when they can master the material, that's it. They will pass, So this is not about showing up in class. Kalau nggak masuk 16 kali, gagal. No. If you can come once and you can, master the material, that's good. Maybe some other students need 20 times, 20 meetings. That's okay. So with my class, I also use both Google Class and also the LMS from the university. What I have there is low anxiety approach, like no deadlines. Because you don't know what's happening to your student. Maybe they are somewhere in like someone from NIAS is now, Pak Kia, I think he agrees that the internet is low. If you don't have the internet, you cannot submit. So you need more time. So in my class, I don't give deadlines, because then students will feel relaxed. Then they will be eager to do that. If you have deadlines, okay, this week the deadline is this, next week is this, too much. And they will just shut down, okay? Even though you get angry, you torture them, they will not do that, because they cannot do that. Like internet is beyond their control, and they got frustrated and they drop out. So low anxiety approach, method and strategies, that's what we have to use, whether that is in high school or in university. That's what I did. No deadlines. So that's number one. And then the second one, I think it's very interesting that Pak Imam brought the view of the same thing but different point of view. I think one, see that as a challenge, so you need to improve because that it's a challenge. One, see that as Pak Imam mentioned, handicap, problem. When you have a problem, then you stop. But when you have a challenge, then you grow. I think that is the position that our university taken. Maybe it's a bit different. Our neighbors, they close, but we don't close. But of course, with great precaution. It's like making a journey. Learning is making a journey. Do you want to take a trip or not? Do Do you want to go somewhere else or not? If you want to stop, that's okay. That's your decision. But we want to make journey. Are there any risk of accident along the street? Yes. But you have to prepare for that. Will that lead to sickness? Maybe. Even death, like if you're taking journey from Jogja to Solo in your car, you might have accident. If you stay at home, maybe the risk is not there. But again, I think that is a different view. You can see that as a problem, you stop. You can see that as a challenge, then you grow. So I think it's more like, I think in English, no pain, no gain. If you want zero risk, then you'll have zero gain. That's okay. That's a choice. Ya udah tutup. But that is zero risk. But now the risk is everywhere. Shopping malls, streets, markets, and we don't know. So what we can do is prepare. But are you willing to take the risk? If you're willing to take the risk, it is possible that you will gain something. But if you don't want to take a risk, yes, of course, you'll just not gaining anything and you're waiting. What about if nothing changes? We don't know, right? So I think that's the position of maybe, I don't know, Indonesia, but maybe not all Indonesians, are that way. But stopping is definitely not willing to take the risk. And of course, we will never gain anything if we don't take the risk. I think that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Ade. So I think the only option for us is to take the risk, ya Pak.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course prepare and minimize the risk if it is possible. But zero risk is not a risk. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Ade. And I think what we are doing now is, what is it? It's like helping us to take the risk by learning on how to engage our students and to make them and us ready for any situations that we will face in the future. Okay, so now we will go to the second term. Again, we will have other 3 questions. I think we already have some questions to Bu Listiani. Actually, it deals with the survey book. Some of the questions dealing with the survey that you did to your students. One of question asking about how teachers can measure the student psychology during this online, and also if you consider if there are any respondents from Java Island and also from outside of Java Island. So could that be any reasons for their different response? So that one question for Bu Listiani. Is there any other participants who wants to ask questions directly to our speakers? Maybe again you can, okay. Budita, could you please mute the microphone for Novi Rendra? Okay, Mbak Novi, now you can give.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Novi.
And also all the speakers. Yeah, Pak Oda, Ibu Hasti, Pak Imam, my beloved lecturers, long time no see. Talking about engaging the students to online classes, I have many insights from all the speakers. Thank you. But my question will be like this: how to cope with our own idealism. Let's say, for example, this semester I am given English for presentation class. Well, presentation class should be like this, and this. Well, at least that's what I had back then in my college from all of my lectures. But then, because of this crazy pandemic, like I need to reshape my idealism of teaching presentation class. So the question is how to reshape my own idealism in a way that previously, what is what I had in mind is teaching presentation should be like this, and this, but because of this pandemic, I could not do that anymore. So can you give me enlightenment on that? Well, this question can go to nanti terserah deh, Ibu Moderator, to whom my question should be addressed. I guess that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Manofi. So that's the second question. I think Mbak Wahyu Lindawati is asking to ask questions directly. So, Bu Dita, could you please mute the microphone for Mbak Wahyu Lindawati?
Well, thank you so much for giving me the chance to ask questions. But first of all, I'd like to say something about me. I used to be a teacher, but I'm not a teacher anymore, meaning to say that I am a mother now, a mother of two sons. But on behalf for all mothers who are dealing difficulty with online learning, I'd like to ask questions related to project-based learning discussed by Ibu Elisa. Now, I want to ask you, can you please elaborate the meaning of project-based learning by giving some examples? What are the examples of project-based learning? And also, is it useful for students who have, let's say, for example, they miss some classes, the online classes, and then the teachers will just give the project-based learning? Is it okay for them to do that because they miss the classes? And also, do you set any certain deadline for the project-based learning? Do you think that it is necessary for you to set a deadline for the project-based learning? Yeah, I think that's my question.
Okay, thank you, Bu, for addressing the questions. Okay, so now in this term we have three questions again. One question is for Polisiani regarding the survey results. So maybe you can answer to these questions. And then the second question about the engagement of students in online classes, and then how to cope with idealism, because there are some things, especially in her presentation class, that cannot be done during these online classes. So what things that can be done to cope with these problems? And then from Bu Wahyu Lindawati, asking Bu Elisa about the project-based learning. So please elaborate the meaning of the PBL and also to give examples and whether it is useful for students for having PBL and should it be any deadlines. Okay, so now we go to the first questions. Bu Listiani, could you please answer the questions about the result of your survey?
Yeah, Burina, actually there are two questions, right? One is regarding the survey, and the other one is how to measure student psychology.
Yeah.
So should I answer both? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. For the first question, how to measure student psychology? Usually, I make use of reflection. So I ask my students to write reflections. What they have learned, their feelings and their difficulties or challenges, and how they survived. So this reflection is confidential, just between the student and me. And from there, I know their responses, their feelings, and their difficulties. It is part of the assessment, though. So, but very small part of the grading. Thank you. Now I will move to the second question regarding the the survey that I did to 3 teachers from outside of Java. 2 were addressed to teachers in Timika, Papua, and they said that there were no big problems because it's a big city and yeah, no big deal. But I also asked an English teacher at Marau. Yeah, Marau is in Ketapang Regency, if not mistaken, 6 hours from Ketapang in West Kalimantan. And he said that in his area, only 3 districts have what is that? Satellites from operators. Jadi hanya 3 kecamatan with good signals for the internet. So internet connection is a big problem there. So this teacher is teaching in a vocational school or SMK. So he makes use of Google Classroom because to conduct Google Meet or Zoom meeting, it's always a trouble. There's always a trouble with the internet connection. So he makes use of the Google Classroom there. So all activities are done there. So yeah, it is the biggest challenge, yeah, dealing with internet connection in Marau. Yeah. It is 6 hours from Ketapang Regency. Thank you, Burena. I think that's the answer.
Okay, thank you, Bulis, for answering the questions. So now we go to the second question from Bonafi. Who wants to answer these questions? Pak Oda? Mbak Elisa?
Okay, maybe I'll say something about the one from Novi. So she was my student long time ago, and also Arinda. So how are you guys today? Hope you're well. So I think the question is idealism. So my answer is adaptability. So you have to be. I think that is one of the 21st century skills that we talk about quite a lot. Adaptability, but we never really use it, right? Because everything in our education system is standardized. The ideal presentation is like this. That is the ideal, standard. You have the standard. But I think we cannot really use that anymore. Now is adaptability. Like last semester, I was teaching drama, for example. Then I changed the drama. Normally, in a normal days, I think Riri also remember that they present on a stage. But now it's not possible. So our stage is YouTube. So monologue and other things on YouTube. So it's adaptable. And what I was quite surprised from my students are that they are learning something else. They are learning what we call digital skills. The older students who present, who perform on normal stage, they don't have that, ability. But the new students, they now have digital skills. So they, the stage now is in YouTube. I think presentation also, it's a very flexible, it's online presentation like this one, talking. It's a different way, but I think, yeah. So adaptability is the key. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauda, for
Something, Rena?
Yes, of course, Bu Asti, please.
Yeah. Well, that's very true. In the past, we are standardized, but now the government also develop a kind of darurat standard. Darurat standard. Let's give the example in SMP, SMA, SMK. There is a curriculum darurat COVID in which the number of the KD that should be achieved by the students are decreased into 5 only. So from 14, and then now it's becoming only 5 for 1 year. So I think in the length of the time or the session is only once in a week. I think this is also to what Pak Oda called a kind of adaptation, so adaptability. So the curriculum should be adapted during the new normal or the COVID pandemic era, something like that one. Relating to the presentations, of course, you have to change your idealism. Auda is also one of our students too.
So small world.
Small world again, yes, very small one. I do agree with by using YouTube. So the students recorded, they have to be delivered in form of a speech. Then the speech is submitted to Topik, something like that. Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, thank you, Bu Asti. So the keys are adaptability and also how we can reduce some aspect of the standards to help our students master the learning materials. Yeah, like Pak Oda also said, it is about the masterly learning. Okay, thank you. So now we go to the last questions, which is about the project-based learning. But Elisa, could you please answer the questions because the questions is specially addressed to you, and maybe also you can answer one more questions about how can you make sure that students are engaged during asynchronous activities?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Verena. Firstly, I would like to answer, trying to share my my experience also to Ibu siapa tadi? I forget the name.
Lindawati, Mbak.
Ibu Wahyu, which is asking about project-based learning. So project-based learning here, as Pak Oda said, if we can do it well, it's gonna be effective. But if we, the teachers, couldn't really control or couldn't really manage this PBL, yeah, it's gonna be like something disruptive. I mean, like sometimes people misunderstand that project-based learning is like giving the students tasks, lots of tasks, yeah, more on giving assignments, and then there is a project. But actually project-based learning here is a teaching method that can gain the knowledge and skills by working for an extended period. So that is why it is not for each meeting you have to finish this, and then the next meeting you have to finish that, and so on and so on. But the period or the deadline might be extended. So we can be flexible in this PBL. It is actually to give the students chance to investigate more and then to respond more on what we instructed to them. And it's not only instruction, we also need to engage them with with some clues, directions on how to achieve that project. So that is why feedback is important in this PBL. So you cannot just let the students alone. So finally they will finish this project, but we direct them, we guide them to achieve the final goal or the final project. That's the key of project-based learning, in my understanding. Probably later on, Pak Oda, if you want to add, it's gonna be better. And then about the deadline, as I said previously, the deadline might be effective to make self-regulated learning for the learners. But go back to the condition that we are not in the normal condition right now. So we also need to be flexible with the deadline that we give to them. Mastery learning, as it is discussed previously. I think that's it, Bu Wahyu, Linda, ya. And then the next one is another question, which is about how to
make sure that students are engaged in asynchronous activities.
How to make sure that the students are engaged in the asynchronous activities. It is something difficult to measure as well, because we cannot control what it is in their mind. But at least from the asynchronous activities, we can see from their progress. So see their progress for each thing. I mean, if for example they have no progress at all, probably the students got a problem. So try to approach them, him or her, personally. You also have the I suggest to have another application instead of asynchronous only, by having WhatsApp group, the low bandwidth one. So you can try to ask what's going on actually with them. So finally, the engagement can happen there in the teaching and learning process. Maybe they have problems in the internet connection, probably, or probably they have another problem with their personal family background and so on. We do not know, right? So how to make sure? Yeah, try to approach them, be present to them, what's going on with them. So you also can see it from the progress that they make. I think that's it, Burena.
Okay, thank you, Melissa, for answering the questions. Uh, to all our presenters today, do you still have any things to say, to express, any ideas? Maybe you want to add some things? Pulistiani, do you want to say something? Okay, Pak Oda?
I think just one word. So low anxiety method, techniques, approaches. So low anxiety, and something like no deadlines is low anxiety. So that's my advice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Oda. Bu Hasti, do you still have anything to say?
So
Okay.
I think okay, I think we do agree that the online teaching is not a kind of handicap; it is a kind of challenge to all of us. Then to cope with the problems and to execute the challenge, then we have to improve our teaching skill by considering lowering the anxiety, as Pak Oda said, that when we try to develop our teaching and competency in online teaching skill, then one of the most important thing, then we have to put the skill of social and also communication skill, that it is those skill influence much on lowering the anxiety. This is my additional comment to Rena.
Okay, thank you, Bu Hasti. Okay, so now we come to the end of our discussions. I think we have learned lots of things today, especially on how we need to adapt to this pandemic situations that we are forced to go online. Yeah, and not only as teachers or students, but also as parents, like Bu Wahyulindawati. Yeah, how we can respond to these situations, and it is very much important for us to to redefine that being ready is not only with our devices, with our internet connection, but what is more important is how we can encourage, we can support our students, our children to learn better in a low anxiety situations, in a low anxiety environment, by setting up interesting activities, and then reducing the deadlines maybe, or and also how we can apply some techniques and medias that will be appropriate with our students and our children's learning situations and conditions. Okay, so I hope that we all can learn from what we discussed today. Thank you so much for Bu Hasti Robiase for sharing with us, Bu Elisa Hartati, Pak Oda Tedaena, and also Bu Listiani. I think that's the end of our discussions. Thank you. Salam. And I give the screen back to Bu Laksmi. Thank you,
Yes,
Pulasmi.
Ibu.
Okay.
Thank you, Pak Imam.
Yeah. Thank you again, Bu Hasti, Bu Listi, Bu Elisa, and Pak Oda for sharing fruitful ideas, thoughts, experiences, and best practices. And thank you, Bu Rena, for nicely moderating the session. And also thank you for all audience who has participated in the questions and answer, and also in joining the session. Bapak Ibu, you can revisit the recording of this session to our UST YouTube channel. Well, we've come to the end of this sharing session. We kindly invite you all again in our second sharing of ELT, which will be held on Saturday, October the 10th, 2020 at 9 until 12. And then the topic for the second sharing is what's hot and what's not in translation. And the presenters will be from Universitas Kristen Satya Wacana Salatiga, Universitas Mercu Buana Yogyakarta, Universitas Sanata Dharma Yogyakarta, and Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Taman Siswa Yogyakarta. Bapak and Ibu, last but not least, I kindly ask you to turn on your camera, and the host will take the screenshot of your picture for our documentation. Okay, please wait. Turn on your camera and put on the best smile. Okay, now is screen 1. Look at the camera, Bapak Ibu, and smile. Now moving to screen 2. Now moving to screen 3. Now to screen 4. That's all? Okay. Thank you very much, Bapak Ibu. Okay, all right. I hope that you've learned a lot today from our panelists and our sharing. And until we'll meet again in the second sharing. Thank you very much again. Take care and salam.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, all
Yeah.
audience.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Pulaksmi, Purena,
Thank you, Pak Oda.
Pak Ansel. Yeah. Thank you.
Sudah. Thank you, Bu Asti. Mbak Elisa, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
Miss
ya, udah jawab
Ilham.
pertanyaan ya. Tak prank.
Ini bukan settingan gitu dong.
Oh iya.
Thank you, Bu Elisa.
Thank you, Pak Ansel.
Thank you, Bu
Udah
Hasti.
diundang.
Thank you very much. Bu Listi, thank you.
Pak Setio,
Hey, Pak Setio, you are there.
Halo Pak Setio, dicari Bu Listi loh.
Dikangani Bu Listi loh.
Ya.
Bu Listi udah leave mas.